Hey guys, it's Victoria, and it has been a really long time since I've done a running update. I've wanted to do this so many times, and I just keep putting it on the back burner and then not doing it, but it's something that I really want to document, and I really regret not doing it, I know, every few months, checking in, but I figured better late than never, so I just finished a run on the treadmill. That's why the background right now is my basement. So I just went back to my running playlist, which I will try to remember to link up above, to see when the last time was that I updated. And it was a while ago. It was almost 2 years ago, which is hard to believe. I had done a 10K. Lydia was born in February of 2015. Then I did a 5K Mother's Day that year, and then a 10K in that fall. And you can go back and watch. I'll try not to rehash everything that I've already talked about, because I do have a playlist where I talk at length about how I got started with running and what I've done up until that point, but then I haven't talked about anything for the last 2 years. So it's been an exciting 2 years, and I've come a long way, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of myself. So after I did that race, that was a 10K. I think my time was 106 something. And my previous 10K was 110, so I had cut a few minutes off of it, which was exciting. It was funny rewatching the old videos where I kept saying, I don't focus on time, like I really don't care about that, and that is still true. I mean, my ultimate goal is just to run. But as you get into it, you get to be a little more competitive with yourself. It's got nothing to do with anybody else's times. That's one thing I love about running, is that it is really personal, and people are not competitive with each other. Everyone is so encouraging. But as I've gone further along, I do focus on my time a little bit more. So after that, I did a 10K last Mother's Day, or well, 2 Mother's Days ago now. It would have been 2016. I did a 10K, and my time was 1:03:06, so I cut about 3 minutes off of my fall time from before that, which was awesome. I'm always just looking to improve, like even if it's by a couple of seconds, just I want to improve. You want to feel like you're getting somewhere. So after that, a couple weeks later, I did a 5K at our local airport, and it's a runway. It was called the Runway Run, and it was a fundraiser for mental health. And I thought it'd be really cool, like, running on the runway at the airport's really neat, but it was so boring. There's nothing to see. It's a runway. It's just pavement. And for safety reasons, we weren't allowed to use earphones. So the whole time I really need music or podcasts to take me out of it, to not like focus on every single step. And without that, I found it really hard. It was really hot as well, but I was really proud of my time. At that point, I hadn't got a 5K under 30 minutes. So my time was like 30:45 or something like that. I was really happy to get it under 31 minutes. So after that, I really just took the summer, not off, but I was tired of pushing myself and putting so much pressure on myself. So I just ran for fun. I went with my friend whenever I could. I went out by myself whenever I could. Tried to get out, 3 times a week was always my goal, but realistically it was more like 2 times a week, and I was happy with that. Just to get out and just enjoy it, especially in the summer. You don't want to be forcing yourself to go all the time and being on too strict of a schedule. But as the summer started to wind down, I started to feel like I needed to work towards something again. So I decided not to do the fall race that year, but I really wanted to get a 5K under 30 minutes. So that's what I started working on, and I was really close. Every run I was getting, shaving a few seconds off. I was 30:45, 30 and a half. And then one night, this just proves how mental running really is. I went out and I said, that's it. Enough of this foolishness. I am doing this. I picked a route that was really flat so that hills wouldn't slow me down. And I just pushed myself, and I did it. And I was really proud. And I know that was around, I want to say September of last year. And I've only done it one other time since then, but I was really proud of it at that moment. So after that, I just continued, to run for fun. And then I did the Santa Shuffle at Christmas, which is the very first race that I had done. I think it was 3 years before that. It's a really fun race. It's a fundraiser for the Salvation Army. People dress up as Santa and wear reindeer antlers and jingle bells. And so it was really fun. I did that with my best friend. And when I run with her, I don't usually time myself, because we're talking, and your pace is never as good when you're with somebody else, at least not for me, because I'm not focusing as much on it, and I'm being more social. So we're going along, and I'm saying to her, I'm dying. Why am I dying so much? Because her and I don't usually push ourselves to the point like that I feel like I'm dying. And she had her watch on, and she looked at it as we were like getting close to the finish line, and it was like 28:30 or something, and I was like, that's why I'm dying. We're going fast. So we crossed the finish line. This isn't a chipped race, so you don't have anything in your bib giving you the exact time that you finish, because when you cross the finish line, when you're further back, or when you cross the starting line further back, you're not crossing it at 0, you're crossing it at 20-30 seconds or so, depending on how far back you are. So when we crossed the line, we were at about 30:10. So I'm gonna say we did the race under 30 minutes. So we don't know exactly, but we were a ways back before we crossed the start line. So I'd say about 10 seconds. So either way, we were really close to the 30-minute mark. So before that, my friend she had done races with us before, she's a big time runner. She sends me and our mothers a text message saying, this Mother's Day, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to run this is her. She's going to run the full marathon. She'd never done a full before. Victoria, you're going to do the half, and our moms are going to walk 10. And I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a half. That was the next logical step. I just hadn't decided when I wanted to do it. The girl that I run with the most, she was going to be away for Mother's Day, so I knew she wouldn't be doing it with me. So I had to decide if I wanted to do it then or not. And I thought, well, why not? Let's just jump in. I'd considered the pros and cons of training for a big race in the fall, meaning you're running in the summer months, or in the spring, meaning you're running in the winter months. I'm so glad I picked what I picked, because I hate running in the heat. And when you're training for a half marathon, you're running for multiple hours, and to try to find time to do that in the summer would be nearly impossible. And so I'm really glad that I chose to do it in the winter. So I didn't follow any particular program. My mom's texting me about Big Brother. I did it on my own. I considered joining like a training group. Our local running store has really good clinics, but I knew it was going to be hard for me to be tied into running at a certain time every week, just because life is so busy. So I really I Googled different programs. A lot of them are really complicated, and I was like, I've kind of winged it for everything else. I mean, I had a plan, but it wasn't any specific. Like, I didn't use the blah, blah, blah method. I used the Victoria method. So I started towards the end of January. The race is mid-May, so that gave me a lot of time. I built in some extra time for, sickness, or if life gets too busy, I can't get a long run in, or just if there were weeks I felt I needed to repeat, which there were, then I could do that. And I just added a kilometer every week. So it was really simple. I think a lot of people overcomplicate things. It really doesn't have to be that complicated, at least for me, and I'm no expert. So what I did is I ran 3 times a week whenever possible. There was only maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I missed a run. I would do 2 shorter runs during the week, usually in the evening. So anywhere between 7, 8, maybe up to 10, but usually in the 7-8 range. Sometimes on the treadmill, which it's old, it doesn't have a display, so I have to kind of go based on time. Sometimes at the indoor track, outside whenever possible. I would do that twice a week, and then on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, I would do my long run. So the first few weeks of January leading up to the beginning of February, I just worked at getting back up to 10, because I wasn't doing 10s. I'd only been doing 5s, the occasional 7 or so. So I got back up to 10, and then I added a kilometer every weekend. So 11, 12, 13, all the way up. That's really all I did. And it worked. It was hard. Every week I felt like there's no way I could possibly do another kilometer. And then the next week I would. I used interval training, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but it was something that I'd shied away from in the past, because I always kind of felt like, walking was cheating. And I read a lot about this, and I really had to overcome that perception, because that's just not true. You're still going the same amount of distance. And I really, really found that helped. It didn't hurt my overall time. Like, I'd look back at the my splits, so my per kilometer pace, and you really couldn't tell the kilometers that I was walking, because it really just kept everything more even, and I was able to keep my pace up because I was taking those breaks. So I used an interval timer app on my phone, and then every 10 minutes it would beep. I'd walk for a minute. I would take a drink of water. That was something else I had to get used to. I had never run with any type of fuel. So I had a fuel belt with I just put 2 of the little bottles on it. During my walking intervals, I would take a sip and put it back in, and then it would beep and I'd run again. At the running store, they gave me a sample of like the jelly beans. They said to take one every 45 minutes, and it would kick in about 15 minutes after that. So I did do that, but to be honest, actually I only did it in the first 45 minutes. Once I got running, an hour and a half, 2 hours, I didn't take another one. I didn't really find it made any difference. So I don't know. Some people have all kinds of fancy gels, and they bring nuts and trail mix and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I'm just really like basic, I guess, and didn't think I needed to complicate things at all. So I had a little bit of water. I had one of those jelly beans about 45 minutes in, and I used my intervals, and I worked my way up to 21.1 kilometers. And it was incredible. There was one week where Matthew and I went south, and I did bring my running stuff, and I ran twice while I was there. I planned to do a long run. Like, I was going to go on the treadmill and do that was at the end of April, so I was getting close to race time. I was going to do, like, if I was up to 16 or 17 or 18, wherever I was, kilometers, I was going to do it. And I'm standing on the treadmill, I'm running, I'm looking out at the ocean, and I was like, forget this. Like, no race is worth missing 5 minutes of being on that beach. So I think I did about 7, and then I called it a day. And it didn't hurt me at all to miss one long run like that. So my last long run I did, I guess it would have been 2 weeks before the race, when I did the full, I did 21.1. So I basically did a half marathon before my half marathon. Some people said not to do that. They said only work up to 18 or 19. Some people overtrain and go 22, 23. I just wanted to know I could do it, and so I just went and did the full 21.1. Then I had planned to do like some shorter runs leading up to the race, and the next time I went out after the last long run, my knee was really bothering me. I'd never had any issues with it before that, but it was really hurting. So I ended up stopping and had a hard time walking home, and I was freaking out at this point, because you're 2 weeks out from the race, less than 2 weeks out, and I can barely walk on my knee. And I don't know, I didn't do anything specific, but I think it was just overuse. So I iced it. I took a week off, and then my last run, I went into the running room. I asked, what can I do? And they said, basically just rest. They showed me different braces, things like that, but they said, just rest and ice it. And they said, and they made me feel better. They said, your training is in you. You've done it at this point. It's not going to matter whether you take the week off or not. So that made me feel a little bit better, because I'm somebody who, like, I feel like, oh my God, if I take a week off, I'm going to lose it. I'll never run again. And I know that's not logical, but that's like, I get really nervous about that. So my last run, I went out, I think it was on the Wednesday. The race was on a Sunday, and I just did 5. I was so nervous, and I felt good. I could kind of tell that it had been sore, but it really didn't bother me. And luckily during the race, it didn't bother me at all. So that was great. So race day comes. My incredible friend completed her first full marathon. It was amazing to cheer her on as she crossed the finish line. Our mothers walked their first 10, which was amazing as well. And I did my first half marathon. My time was 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 23 seconds. And I was thrilled with that. And of course, when I first started out, I said, oh, I don't have a goal. No, I just want to finish, But of course, you have something in your mind of where you want to be. And that was 2 hours and 30 minutes is where I wanted to finish. And I'm starting out, and you always start out faster than you normally do because the adrenaline and all the people. And this is a big race, like it's the biggest race in our city, and the weather was perfect. I could not have asked for a better day. And I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like way faster than I should be. And I'm ahead. Like, they have pace bunnies, so if you don't know what that is, it's somebody who, they wear little bunny ears and it tells you, 2 hours 30-minute half marathon. So if you want to do the half marathon in 2.5 hours, you follow that guy. So I'm running and I'm like, I'm ahead of the 2:20 pace bunny. And then my walking intervals would come up and I'd walk and he'd pass me, and then I'd run and I'd pass him. So that went on for quite a while. So then he got ahead of me and then I was behind him, but I never saw the 2:30 pace bunny. So I said, as long as he's behind me, then I know I'm on pace for where I want to be. It got hard towards the end. I'd say kilometer 15, 16 or so. It was getting really hard. The first part of the race goes like through the city streets, and then you're on the trail, which is beautiful, but then the trail ends up, you're running sort of parallel to a river. This part's not paved, and then you cross the river and you're really just running like, it's like a field, so with like trees. There's nothing to see for quite a ways, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's people coming back. When am I going to turn around? And I'd never done this part of the race before, and people had told me it's far, like it's further out than you think it is. And finally you turn around and start heading back, and it was tough. It was really tough. I think because I started out faster than I planned on, I was struggling towards the end, but then you hit that, the home stretch, you can hear the crowd, and my mom waited for me to cross the finish line, and we crossed the finish line together, and I'll put the pictures in because they truly capture the emotion. And if you're someone who's ever run before, you know how it feels when you cross that finish line and you do something you never in a million years thought you could do. And if you're somebody who has never run before, I encourage you to try it. It's like nothing else. The feeling of victory and personal accomplishment, whether it's 1 kilometer or a full marathon, or people who do like insane 100-mile 3-day events, no matter what, the feeling is like something you can't even describe. And the running community is incredible. Like I said before, it is so supportive. The people are so encouraging, and nobody judges you. It does not matter what you look like. I think a lot of people are self-conscious, and you see people of every size, every age, every body type out there. And that's inspirational in and of itself, just to see people pushing themselves out of their comfort zone and getting off the couch and just doing something. It doesn't matter, how fast or how far you go, just that you go. So the running community has been really something that I'm really happy and excited to be a part of. So that is my update on my half marathon training. I know this is long, but I wanted to sort of encapsulate everything I've done in the last 2 years. And as for now, no real plans. I might do a 10K this fall in the fall race. I won't be doing another half for a long time. It was a huge time commitment, and it was a strain on the family, because when I would go do my long runs, I'd have to drive somewhere, I'd run for 2 hours, drive home, shower, get ready. So it's like a 3-hour ordeal for me to go out every weekend, and it's just not something that I really want to put myself through at this point. I've done it, I've checked it off the list, and it can stay off the list for a while, and I have no doubt that I'll do another one, and maybe even do a full someday. I don't know. It seems insane, but a 5 seemed insane at one point too. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I'm sure I left out a bunch of things I'm going to remember later, but I just wanted to sort of jump on and record what I could remember over the past 2 years. So thanks so much, anyone who's still watching at the end, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.